What is up, winning team? Today, I want to just make a quick comment about teams, the importance of having a strong team, the importance of not being the weakest link, and the importance of understanding when you're playing a game and you can't just afford to be nicey nice, okay? Because one thing that the Lord has taught me the last couple of years is that part of my problem that I've had in this life, because like I say, you guys, we have to take accountability for how our life turned out, right? One of the things that the Lord has taught me is that what I have done to contribute to my own suffering is I try to treat and deal with my enemies too nicely nice. This is ironic because I haven't uploaded the videos from earlier because I thought I was being too mean. I'm gonna have to upload them now. But anyway, so let me just bring you guys in on this because it's actually important. I've got a perfect way to describe it from a show, from something I just saw on Netflix. Basically, there's this show called The 8 Show, I think is what it's called. You guys, I don't necessarily recommend you watch it. Anyway, and it's like a Korean program. And you know me, whenever I'm chilling and I have extra time, it's Saturday. So only the day I think I'm not working is today. Anyway, and I like to watch a TV program. I actually started watching it about a week ago. Anyway, so I was trying to distract my brain from the performance I just done. Anyway, on the show, you know I love a game show. But this is it's not a real game show. It's more like a written story. But anyway, so there's 8 floors and there's 8 people, right? And they all pick a card at the beginning. They don't know what that card constitutes, but it constitutes what floor they're going to live on. Hear me out, guys, because there's a lot to learn here, because I just feel like watching this is so painful because it's like literally a perfect depiction of the realities of the world and how, whether you're looking at people who are rich and famous and powerful, or you're looking at the brokest person on the planet, it's all the same game and it's all the same people being played against themselves. So anyway, because that's one of the big things I think people mistake. I think in the world we have this tendency to go, oh, this person is better off than me, so they're in another category and I'm in one category. And I don't think people realize there's just 2 teams. There's just 2 teams and only ever 2 teams, right? So kind of like on Squid Game, the only teams there ever were was the contestants and the guys in the masks that were funding the whole thing. There was no other team ever. And it's similar to this show. We're getting there. So they pick a floor. Now, on each floor, the 8th floor, if you're on that floor, each floor gets money periodically, like every hour. So the bottom floor, I think it's like 10,000 every hour. And on the top floor, I think it's, what is it? How much is it? I think it's like 250,000 every hour. So it's kind of a joke. And basically how the whole thing works is, if the time runs out on the main clock in the main building, on like the center building part, if all the money runs out, then the show ends, or if one of them dies. Which again, sounds extreme at the beginning, because before things get serious, things like death and destruction and torture and all of that, they sound like we would never do that. It was like a COVID. People always like goody, like we would never do this. But when everyone was starting to panic about if they're going to be able to afford this and that and look after this and that, all of a sudden, people start naturally putting themselves before anybody else, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, by the way. I just think that as humans, we have a tendency to actually think we're so much better of people than we actually are, and it's problematic. And you're about to see what I'm saying here when it comes to this team effort thing. Because recently I've been thinking we need to make sure that in the teams that we're building, that we're making sure everybody's up to scratch. Because anyway, so what happened in the show, long and short of it is, in order for them to increase the money in the main area, they would have to do things that would entertain whoever's watching via camera. And of course, the more degenerate, the more money they got, right? And the longer they stay, the more money they get, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, the top 4 floors kind of banded together because they were obviously better off. They had more money. And also, the showrunners, it's insane, decided that their food and water for the day would only go to the 8th floor. So it was up to the 8th floor if they wanted to give the food out to everybody else or not. Anyway, long and short of it is, the top floor got a power trip, as is in the world, right? The top 4 floors, we have more money, we have more power for that reason, or at least perceived power, because again, we're going to come to that in a minute. And so we're going to, I'm doing really bad storytelling today. So they decided, in order to make money every day, they're essentially just going to literally torture and beat and everything the bottom floor people, and basically dingle dangle water and food for them. Meanwhile, ordering themselves whatever they want in their rooms. And if you saw what their rooms look like, it's insane. Now, eventually, the guy who's on the bottom floor decides we should revolt, and they kind of all make a plan to revolt, right? Listen, I so desperate for a revolution. I've realized I think that might be the only thing that gives me a will to live. Because if we're not going to do something in this world, then I just don't want to have any conversation with anyone about any topic. If we're not going to become doers, right? So when they decided they were going to revolt, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Because they were like, oh, what are we going to do? These people have money. These people have this. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, they successfully did. They ended up managing to tie up the top 4 guys, taking advantage of their benefits. This goes on for some days. They're like, let's let the show finish so that we can go, basically, and take the money we have. Now, here's the key part. There was on the, in both of the 2 sides, there was 2 guys and 2 girls. Is that right? No, the bottom 4, there was only one lady in it. Anyway, the guy who's arguably was the strongest and the one that everybody would fear was in the top 4 floors. So he was the one they really needed to keep tied up. Now, what happened is, while they were all tied up and days had gone on, the weaker woman from the bottom 4, right, she's at floor number 5, which again, arguably, because was she 5 or 4? Can't remember. 4. Has to have been 4. 4, 5. Wait, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 4. She started to feel bad for the guys being tied up. She's forgotten the 47 days worth of daily torture that they put her through, and the beatings and the everything. And now, because this guy's like, oh, no, this is so hard. Can you just untie me just so I can embrace you? And I was thinking, idiot. There was 2 key idiots here, right? The first one was the girl who had tied them up, who was in the bottom group. She made the mistake of not tying up this like everybody else the way, because basically some stuff started to happen. We're not going to get into it. But basically she made the mistake of thinking this other woman is just too sweet and she's harmless. There's no use needing to wrap her up. That was mistake number 1, right? And then mistake number 2 was, again, because of doing that, because she did that, even though she was a great leader, even though she was looking out for the people, even though she was doing what needed to be done, just because she had a little bit too much sympathy for the wrong person, that person then got milked. Because the thing is, the guy, when he was like begging to the soft lady, when he was begging her, he was doing what I think all great manipulators are great emotional manipulators. They get people, they find the ones who like to think they're a good person and don't want to see anybody hurt and crying, right? And he started saying, I'm not even evil. She's the one that's evil. I'm not, like, all of this. Even though, bearing in mind, he was the one getting drunk off of violence the most. Him and the other girl. This other lady who I haven't mentioned, the 8th floor woman. So, this dumb softie goes and unties this man. And before you know it, they went from literally being hours away of all of them leaving. And bearing in mind, the bottom group didn't really torture the other group. Although one person did, because they were secretly still trying to torture the others to get more time to go on because they wanted to stay. And this is, again, the other problem with humans, I find. This is all the problems with humans. So the guy who selfishly wanted to stay but wouldn't own up to what he was doing ends up creating a bigger problem, right? And again, because if you guys are working in this, like a lot of these shows, what a lot of these shows highlight, I've noticed, whether it's the real ones, the not real ones, whether it's games in life, is that in order to win, you do have to play as a strong team. And playing as a strong team isn't just you being strong or me being strong or anyone else. It's being honest with each other and being able to depend on each other. Like, this is why I love One Piece, and this is why I love the Sidemen, because the Sidemen all pull their own weight and they're all reliable for what they have to do, right, in their own ways. That's why they've had the career that they've had. That's obviously a real example. And then on One Piece, you ain't never seen teamwork like on One Piece, right? And these are the things that frustrate me about humans, because people will be in something where the only way you're going to succeed at this is as by a team, but then you won't play as a team. It's the same reason I get frustrated with the body of Christ. I'm like, how are we supposed to be a team when we've got 100,000 different denominations? So anyway, so the long and short of it is things have gone downhill. Honestly, part of the reason I came out is because I was like, I need to get it, because I just got so annoyed. It was just it's the little things, right? The fact that the lady who had noticed, who wasn't taking no nonsense from anybody, still didn't think about how the week ago, because of how soft she was, right? And being soft, by the way, doesn't mean you lack it. Being soft, being harsh, sometimes doesn't mean you're lacking in compassion. It means you're high in wisdom. So what do I mean by that? I mean, sometimes you have to make, and I've said this to people before, it's like what I would have to do in even in my job, especially when I was like teaching dance. Not everybody gets to actually perform the performance or book the job. And it's not because you hate the person, but it's because it's what's best for them and also what's best for the mission at hand and the team. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't help anybody to coddle them. It doesn't, right? And so this is what I'm saying. So that was actually poor leadership from the other woman, who should have realized that, no, I shouldn't just leave her roaming, because now she went to go and check on, she's actually hallucinating by this point. So when she had gone to check on the guy, and he was all like, oh, please, I just want to have an embrace. I was thinking, and in my head I was thinking to her, and this is what I think so many times I look at humans, I'm like, do you think this guy cares for a second to actually want to like hug you right now? Especially because he had this whole relationship going on with the girl on the 8th floor anyway. So, but anyway, but she was so, she got caught up. Then one of the other teammates on the same or the lower team, bearing in mind again, they were on the back foot. This is why I always think what I think about the world. I'm like, you're already on the back foot, and then you go and do things to keep you on the back foot. You want to complain about the celebrities and the famous people, but then you're the same slaves to those celebrities and those famous people. You want to talk about the government and this, that, and the other, but you're the most obedient followers of the government and this, whatever. So like, are you really that bothered by it? Because you seem to be so obedient. So anyway, then he now selfishly makes a decision for himself, because he's like, I want to have this amount of money. So I secretly went, like, he didn't think about how his actions were going to affect the group at all. He just thought, oh, I want more money for myself. I know we've made this agreement and whatnot and what have you. He let his own teammate get shot as well. That was the other thing. Because then the guy found out that obviously these people had been tortured. So when they took back over, they were like, we need to find out who did this, because you're going to pay. We're getting revenge. Duh. And then he just sat there while other people were getting tortured because he wouldn't come forward. It's like, did you think you were just going to get out of this? There's 8 people here. You need at least half the people to be on your side, ideally 5, because the only reason why they were even able to revolt in the first place is because one of the guys in the top half was actually secretly on their side, which they didn't even know. They took a gamble, but they thought he might be, and he was. And then they did what they did. So I'm like, this is what I'm saying. So anyways, I may come back to this topic area in just a moment after I get out of the straw, right? But this is what I'm saying. This is what we do as humans. Like, this is what I was getting frustrated. And this is why I feel like every single thing that happens in this life, when I leave the door, when I'm just walking about, when I'm watching random shows, when I'm in the supermarket, when I'm doing my job, when I'm going to church, when I'm going anywhere, it reminds me how dumb and dense the human population is. It reminds me how horrific we are at teamwork. And then we have the cheek and the audacity to be the cost of living crisis, this crisis happening, blah, 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 blah. Like we're not the authors of this situation. So this is why that frustrated me. So I thought I'd just bring it up. This is why you can't just have these little stragglers on the sideline that you think, oh, they're harmless. No one's ever harmless in a team aspect. No one's ever harmless. No one's ever just taking up space. No one's ever just on the side. Because first of all, can I tell you, as somebody who people don't really take seriously at first because I'm a baby-faced woman, is the people who you're not paying attention to sometimes and a lot of times are contributing so much more than you realize because you've taken your, like I always say, guys, the best strategy in life is to study your opponent, right? If you think about it like that, that means the person you think is the least problematic actually now has the most power because you're paying the least attention to them. That's what I've learned in life. That's something that I ride the wave of for myself. I'm like, I know people are going to underestimate me and I know they're going to shove me to the side. They're not going to think I'm capable of that much. So that's going to be my unique selling point. All I have to do is wait for them to drop their guard, and that's me. And that's me. And that's genuinely probably one of my best gaming strategies in the game of life is to do that. So this is what I'm saying. Don't underestimate any member of the team. If their person is there, whatever their age, whatever you think, don't underestimate their value in the team and don't underestimate the fact that they might do something highly unexpected because any other person of that group would not have untied that guy, at least not with checking in with one more person first, just for the sake of not upsetting everyone. But she got so intertwined in her feelings, which was obvious, which is why no one was paying attention to her because she just was right all the time. And she'd proven as well multiple times, like when they tried to bribe them and stuff, she'd proven that she was the weakest link and she was the weakest minded one of the four of them, right? So by this point, they had enough data to know, but then this is what they did. But this is what I'm saying. It's just life. Everything I see, everywhere I turn, even now, watch, I'm going to go see in the supermarket. Guarantee you right now, I'm going to see other things and be like, yep. This is just life. This is just humans. This is just humans being humans. And this is why we have to be smart. And this is why we have God, because then God guides us how to be wise. That's why God gives us wisdom, not knowledge. Eve was looking for knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There went wisdom in there. And that's why the world is the way that it is. Anyways, guys, if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you. Oh, God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.